Hello everyone and welcome. In honor of Isaac Robinson's 2023 win at the World Championships, I'm going to be taking a look at the Mistwalker, a special blend plastic version of the F3, a very popular fairway driver from Prodigy. Let's begin by taking a look at the profile and feel of the F3. First, being a Speed 8, it has a blunter nose. It's aimed more for control than distance, so it's not as sharp as most distance drivers would be. Also, the profile, it's very flat on the flight plate, but kind of unique because it starts off with like a gradual shoulder and then just kind of pops up immediately. Kind of an interesting wing. And then in this special blend plastic, it is fairly stiff. So players who really like stiff plastic, this may be the one for you. Also, it's worth noting one of the dislikes for the profile for me is that the bottom is pretty sharp. So particularly with forehand shots, it unfortunately likes to dig into my hand, making it a slight annoyance. So with that out of the way, how is the flight? Well, this is a very controllable fairway driver that starts off very straight. It does get a little bit of turn in the mid-flight in both backhand and forehand. So both for kind of lower speed and also for higher speed, higher torque, you are going to be able to get noticeable amount of turn in that mid-flight. But then it has a great amount of late stability, so it can fight out of flex shots. If you put on an anhyzer, it's going to level itself out towards the kind of 2/3 of the way through the flight, check up, and then predictably hyzer out. And that's what I really love about the F3. Regardless if you're a slow arm player or a faster arm player, it's going to have a very similar flight pattern. It's just going to get more noticeable turn. Slow arm speeds, you're still going to be able to get turn in that mid-flight. It may not be a lot of turn, but you can still get it. So that way if you need to flex the disc around an object, you can know you can throw it flat. It's going to get a little bit of turn, but then as it gets around the object, it's going to hyzer back. And then if you're a bigger arm, well, you can know this is going to be a good hyzer flipping tool. You can use it to hyzer flip, hold down tunnels, maybe get a little bit of a finish at the very end, or you can throw it with a bit of air and just get really nice big flexing lines. And because of that late stability, this is a very decent option for slower arms as just a nice controllable, semi-overstable fairway driver. Bigger arms, it's going to be a lot straighter, but again, for kind of medium, slow arms, this will be a very trustworthy fairway driver even in the wind. And then just in general, because it has the ability to do this, get a lot of turn in that mid-flight, but then work itself back, you can put this on a lot of different shot shapes, particularly in the woods. That way you can hit so many different lines. Just arcing hyzers, flat tunnel shots, whether it be something where you need to get around an obstacle, as I mentioned earlier, or just for turnover lines that maybe have a little bit of fight or just you know is not going to fully turn over and burn out into a roller. Just so many different uses that you can use the F3 for. Now, speaking of how different ways to use it, let's go ahead and take a look at how I use it on the course. This is just a very stock shot for a lefty. This is just a hyzer shot. And this is something that, again, the F3 is very good at. Just throw on a slight hyzer, maybe gets a little bit of flip up to flat, but then that late stability is going to kick in and push it towards the basket. So for this shot, you have a wall of trees on the left, a pesky tree on the right, taking away just the pure hyzer line. However, remember what I said, the F3 is great on using that mid-flight understability and then the late flight stability. So on a forehand as a lefty, I'm going to take advantage of that, get it to flex again around the obstacle and hyzer towards the basket. Now I mentioned that the F3 does decent in the wind. Well, just how good is it? Well, as you see, when thrown on a slight hyzer, it flipped up to flat, got a little bit of turn that mid-flight, but that late stability still let it fight its way out. So far, I've only shown the F3 in that special blend plastic, but it does come in a wide variety of different plastic choices. I personally have it in the Air and the 750, so let's see how those plastics compare. So first, with the 750, I almost think this is just a slightly more understable than, say, the Special Blend. I think the Special Blend is probably one of the most overstable versions of the F3. The 750, it still has good late bite to it, but it gets a little bit more turn in the mid-flight. Now, the air in this 500 plastic, my goodness, this thing is a hyzer flipping king and a turnover king. Love it in the woods when I need to shape a shot, but if I need a version that is going to hold a turnover almost all the way to the ground, I'm reaching for the air. And my goodness, the air, these lightweight discs in general are just so much fun to throw. So if you're like a junior or a very beginning slower arm speed player, I would definitely suggest picking up some of the air plastic. And if you're a faster arm, probably avoid it unless you're just doing it for fun. So as you're seeing here, we have the Lefty Lines showing what these three different plastic types look like side by side. I apologize for the air shot there. It's a little bit of an early release when compared to the special blend, but you can still see just how understable the air was, that it's still fully flipped over. And then the 750, again compared to the special blend, they are pretty similar. However, I do think that special blend plastic, even though they do mimic each other pretty closely, I just think the 750 gets a little bit more turn and not nearly as much fade. They're very close. But overall, I'd say the 750 acts more like a slightly seasoned version of that special blend Mistwalker. So what's my overall opinion of the F3? Well, for the flight, I love it, particularly in the woods for shot shaping, because it has the uniqueness of being understable in the mid-flight and then having that late flight stability. However, the profile, even though it's flat on the flight plate, which normally I would love for forehand, it just kind of digs into my hand, so for forehand it makes it uncomfortable, backhand isn't as noticeable, but being slightly uncomfortable can also lead to some misfires with your shots. But based on the qualities of its flight, I would still recommend the F3 as a controllable fairway driver. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And also, go visit GreatLakesDiscs.com. Next time you want to order discs, use promo code LEFTY to save 10%. Thank you all, and until next time, keep banging them chains.